I'm back. Walking again. Kind of a nice day. Not as warm as it was last week, but whatever. You don't really need weather reports, do you? I don't know if you do. But it doesn't matter. Junk report. I don't know. It's been there ever since I've been here. Anyway, it takes a long time for some stuff to rot. flv663. It's taking its time. But slow by sure. You used to have all dirt caught in it. So it was a big wall, and now the dirt's all washed out. Yeah, it's fascinating, right? Anyway, Professor Anton, they're talking about the communication thing again, the difference between books and, I don't know, tapes on tape. Well, you know what I mean, books on tape, or iPods, or smartphones. I guess the Tool Time guy chimed in on the subject, and so then people will talk about it because somebody important chimed in. But anyway, it's no point going over this stuff. I think what's really changed the world, which is much more significant than how we communicate, which is definitely interesting. I mean, technology does change everything. It changes the way we live, certainly. But I don't know if it really changes the words. I mean, I'll do the Martin Luther King thing again. Judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin. Now, you could say, it's so much better when he says it. You could say, it means so much, it's in big text, or it means so much in little text, or it means so much with I don't know. You could do all kinds of things with it. You could do it in cartoon fashion. You could do it in modern art fashion. You could Warhol it. So what? It's the words are saying something kind of explicit and direct, and pretty easy to understand, and they're powerful in and of themselves. It's kind of like the golden rule thing. It's a concept, and concepts can be communicated without too much difficulty if you just put them in nice, straight language, and we get from A to B. So look, the world has changed because people are growing up into a different kind of world. People have been raised now on Darwin. Darwin isn't something they discovered later in life and have to meld into a philosophy. No, it's something they've grown up on, and it's a premise. And they've seen the failures of human civilization. They see recorded history now. You don't see just, someone says Ronald Reagan did this or Ronald Reagan did that. People can go back and look at the videotape. They can see the truth. They don't have to rely on the stories. And the stories also can't get too stupid because now people are there. They see it. It's like people can't talk about 9/11 now and turn into, there was like 50 airplanes and the buildings all caught on fire and all the stories were melting and, there was molten lava flying off the building. They can't make up a whole pile of shit. They can make up some shit, but they can't make up a whole pile of shit because they're glued to the evidence. So, storytelling has to be more reasonable. Your resuscitation of history is now challengeable easily. And the vagaries of interpretation, are narrower. When a cop steps out of his car and beats up a guy, and the guy is sitting on the side of his car, and the cop turns around and shoots him in the head while he's leaning against the tire, you can't turn that into, the cop thought he was going to, strangle him, and, so he had to shoot in self-defense, or some kind of bullshit. There's no way to pervert the truth anymore. So, I don't think, the technology, the method which with we communicate, I think is somewhat interesting and worthy of maybe some conversation. The bigger subject is how the context of information has changed. Not the context of its performance, but just the truth of it. The fact that we're living in a world where it is close to imbecilic to make fundamentalist claims from biblical perspectives. It's imbecile behavior. It's not just not ignorant, it's imbecile. And we have a lot of hard questions to answer about human capacity to function in environments, humans' capacity to create systems that function. The fact that Fukushima happened after 3 Mile Island and after Chernobyl, it's got to give people pause, and they've got to say, holy shit, they did it again. They did it again. There is no learning from history. We got this peak oil thing, peak energy anyway. But the bigger issue is we got peak economy, peak debt. We seem to be able to walk into brick walls all the time. In the past, people did it because they didn't know that it was epistemic, that it was something humans were doing to humans. They kept thinking, well, the world is doing it to us, or the circumstance. No, the people. It's a fundamental practice of the human beastie in terms of its inability to invest in systems rather than their own special interest, their own self-interest. To invest in principles, umpires, that they'll basically say, I want to play the game without them, because they know they won't be able to cheat anymore. I mean, they will be able to cheat, and that's what they want to live on, is to cheat. They want the advantage wherever they can steal it. That's a whole different subject. So getting back to it, so I think what really has changed this game is that we do have a whole different truth we're living by. And, as much as Professor Anton thinks it's going to make human beings more elegant or decent to get caught in a bunch of mumbo-jumbo poetry of life kind of nonsense, to stoically row the boat, to spend hours or years of your life analyzing, gibberish paragraphs of inarticulate mumbo-jumbo. I argue that the truth can now finally be explicitly stated, and is explicitly stated. And the argument's getting much cleaner because it's got to hold up to a different kind of standard. You just can't fool people you can't take advantage of, say, their ignorance. There's plenty of people who are way too dumb for the opinions they express, way too unqualified to have an opinion even, on way too many subjects. But the fact is that this game is one where you can be instantly accountable. You just can't get away with it anymore because there is so much capacity to instantly re-reference, to contextualize, to point out that, he might have said that, but 3 sentences before that he said this. And, to prevent the distortions and the manipulations, there's more power to do that. And likewise, there's more vulnerability created, in the sense that everything gets reduced to too short a sentence. I certainly could just say life sucks and leave it at that, and force somebody to explain why it doesn't. And there'll be plenty of people who just argue from their, from the one sentence. But I'm just saying, for all, when you add it all up, what's really the game is the fact that we can think, holy shit, seeing that trees again. the blue heron never dies. Yeah, it's a great bird. I've known it for like, it's got to be 15 years. Every year I see it on my journeys. Alone, tragically. Yeah. Yes, we both spend most of our time walking the earth alone. Anyway, what was that? Yeah, okay, I don't want to get redundant. Yeah, and I don't know how exactly to phrase it. I guess is what I'm running from a little here. But I guess I'm just trying to say that the real game, the big story, isn't the fact that technology is changing the way we absorb information. It's that progress in terms of what we know and the science we have and the facts we have changed what's worth talking about. You just can't. There's no point in wasting time figuring out, well, what Greek god creates lightning? That would be a dumb conversation. And we're really past having these dumb conversations, because even common people can understand concepts like psychology, that humans are full of shit, and that they aggrandize and tell stories that are preposterous, and that certainly a 2,000-year-old story can have no credibility whatsoever. And so unless you have some current evidence, such a story should have absolutely no meaning to anyone. This kind of logic is so graspable, where 200 years ago, people were still afraid of the dark, because they really didn't know, whether it's a Bigfoot out there, or a Comanche, or whatever. There was real shit to be afraid of in their ignorant world. We're past it. So we know what microbes are now. And that's a bigger change. You could add up all this technological differences in how we communicate and take that and put it in a pile. And just the contextual fact of understanding bacteria is so much bigger a thing. It's so much bigger a change in understanding life and its dynamics. Because now we can see that it's not God's choice what things die and how they die. That's just the incidental circumstance of infection by a bacterium, and that it will quite reliably infect you. They don't magically die. They don't magically appear. They have a chain of events, a chain of history that leads them to a circumstance and might put you vulnerable to that circumstance. But nothing just doesn't arise out of nowhere. And that's the thing that's choosing your fate, is these real circumstances, not some sort of I'm a good person, God won't hurt me kind of bullshit. And I'm not arguing that he's arguing for a God presumption, but I'm just saying that we're way past the mumbo jumbo of, well, let's figure out what the human spirit is. And no, we know what we are. We're hungry, horny little animals, driven by an ego sense, an alpha nature that lends us quite comfortably into a competitive arena and compels us to get a fix of triumph and accomplishment, to keep finding some way to make ourselves important, are noteworthy. And that's all we're doing. And you can write 10 million books about it, but it's just obvious now what we are. He even mentioned Margaret Mead, which I find kind of funny, just because, if you take this anthropology thing seriously, I mean, it's pretty easy to just, see what the patterns are in human behavior and just how owned human civilizations have been by nonsense and voodoo and gibberish and gobbledygook. I just don't know how he can defend anything but civilizations attempting to be as explicit and brutal in terms of how they describe reality, because the liabilities of allowing this witch doctor door to open are just so corrosive. It's the surest road to failure as a civilization. Anyway, I think that'd be enough. Well, not the best video, but it's all you're getting right now. Oh, so much to do. Yeah, I got no will. Just don't want to do nothing. Nope. Anyway, that's my problem. Apparently. Yeah, I can't force somebody else to live my life. But yeah, I really don't want to be in. This doesn't want to be bothered. Yeah, give it to somebody else. I got no use for it. So anyway, till next time, and such.